Welcome to the second module in our educational series about the youth use of e-cigarettes. E-cigarette use, the health risk. No, it's not just harmless water vapor. So as an overview, we're going to touch on topics like, first, it's important to know e-cigarette use is never safe for youth. We'll also talk about how nicotine physically alters the adolescent brain, how it impacts the blood, the brain, the heart, and the lungs. These devices pose a small risk of explosion and fire. And lastly, there is a lack of research about the long-term use of these products, so we're not sure what could happen to people who use these products starting in youth through their lifetime. So the brain and e-cigarettes, this is one of our biggest concerns with youth, as the brain does not fully develop until the age of 25. By using products containing nicotine, youth could become addicted to nicotine. It also can cause issues with their impulse control, lead to mood disorders, attention span disruptions, and learning disruptions, all of which can impact academic performance and other activities that require concentration and memory. Finally, by using e-cigarettes, the nicotine does change the development of neural pathways in the brain and how things are connected, and doing so has been linked through research to a gateway of use for alcohol, marijuana, combustible tobacco, and potentially either other illicit drugs as well. The lungs are another part of the body severely impacted by vaping. Many people are aware of what smoking does to the lungs, but e-cigarette use also poses a risk to the lungs, especially in young people. So those who use these products or exposed to secondhand aerosol are at an increased risk of asthma attacks. The aerosol often contains acrolein, which is a weed killer, and if it kills plants, it's probably not something that we want to introduce into the lung tissue of our youth. We can also see acute lung injury, COPD, lung cancer, and asthma from exposure to acrolein, so all of those could be potential long-term effects of e-cigarette use. For those participating in athletics, using e-cigarettes could impact their athletic performance. Furthermore, the aerosol contains ultrafine metal particles. These are microscopic pieces of metal that can embed deeply into the lungs, and they are impossible to remove. Finally, a lot of the substances found in e-juice are safe to eat. However, they are not FDA approved for inhalation. There has not been a lot of research done on the effects of breathing these chemicals and substances in. And until we know more, it is a risk to anyone who's exposed to this aerosol, either directly or secondhand, to have these substances breathed into the body. And finally, there have been many cases of lung injury to teens and young adults across the United States. So far, we have had reported 805 cases across 46 states, 1 U.S. territory, with 12 confirmed deaths. These cases are affecting young people. About 66% of the cases are people between 18 and 34. 16% of cases are people under 18. And the cases are overwhelmingly male at about 72% of the cases. For the most up-to-date information on this illness, the CDC website is available, and it's updated about once a week. The next part of the body that we're interested in is the blood and the heart. So for those who use e-cigarettes, the body experiences increased heart rate and blood pressure, which could increase the risk of heart attack and CVD. And they've also found that some of the flavors used in e-cigarettes can cause heart disease and increase risk of damage to the heart tissue and blood vessels. And one research study over the summer found that particularly cinnamon-flavored products caused damage almost immediately when blood vessel tissue was exposed to e-juice containing that flavor. Finally, nicotine poisoning is a real concern when using these products, particularly in young children who may accidentally ingest the product or get it on the body, as nicotine can be absorbed through the skin. And as of August 2019, the Poison Control Center has received nearly 3,000 calls about nicotine poisoning in the United States this year. Finally, there is a list of toxins and chemicals called California Prop 65 list. This is a list of substances known to cause either cancer, reproductive, or developmental harm. E-cigarette aerosol has been studied and so far has been found to contain 9 carcinogens and 1 toxin. The toxin is nicotine, which many people know causes developmental harm, particularly for the developing brain of fetuses. The same harm is found in youth who use these products, as the brain isn't fully developed until the age of 25. The other 9 substances, like formaldehyde and heavy metals, can cause various types of cancer throughout the body and should not be breathed in by anyone. On the slide, the letters MS indicate the mainstream, which is the aerosol inhaled directly by the user, and that's who's exposed to that substance, whereas SS is side stream, or the secondhand aerosol, and that is what is potentially the people next to the user of an e-cigarette is exposed to. So along with that, second and third-hand aerosol are real concerns for those not using e-cigarettes. Secondhand aerosol, similar to secondhand smoke, is the aerosol that is directly inhaled by another non-user of an e-cigarette device. This does introduce nicotine into the body of the non-user, and it also leads to a higher risk of allergic reactions, asthma attacks, ear infections, heart attack, and SIDS in children under the age of 1. Third-hand aerosol is the residue that's left behind on soft surfaces, and you may have noticed it before in homes of smokers when you take a picture off the wall and you see that yellow kind of border around it. These types of substances are found in things like car upholstery, carpets, walls, furniture, drapes, and toys. It's of particular concern to young children who spend a lot of time on the floor crawling, and they're very close to the carpet, so by moving around they can kick up the toxins in the residue and inhale it. Furthermore, they put their hands and toys in their mouth often, and so they can also ingest this residue and the residual toxins found therein. So to help combat the issue of second and third-hand aerosol, it is advised that adults make their homes and cars e-cigarette free as well as tobacco free to protect youth and young children especially from exposure to the second and third-hand aerosol in the products found therein. It's also important that you ask family, friends, and caregivers to refrain from using these products in homes and vehicles used to care and transport your children. And by law in Nebraska, all licensed daycare providers must be tobacco and e-cigarette free while they're caring for children, both in the business or home and in the vehicles used to transport those children. Finally, for those who live in multi-unit housing, it is worth speaking to your landlord or property manager and asking them if they are a smoke-free campus for all tenants. And if they are, ask them if e-cigarettes are included. If they aren't, to encourage them to go to a tobacco-free housing policy. And for information on how to do that, you can call the health department and we can help walk you through the process of becoming a smoke-free multi-unit housing location. So finally, what about parents and guardians in using e-cigarettes? We've heard a lot about how e-cigarettes can help you quit, how they're safer than smoking, and that's how they've been marketed to adults. So the CDC does think that e-cigarettes have the potential to benefit adult smokers if and only if they are used as a complete substitution for smoking combustible cigarettes. Using both products together is called dual use, and it actually compounds risk factors like heart attack and lung issues. The e-cigarettes are never safe for youth, young adults, or pregnant women, and for those who have never used tobacco, smoked, or e-cigarettes, they definitely should not start using any of the products. So while e-cigarettes may benefit some and harm others, it's important to remember that we still have a lot to learn about these products, especially over the long term. And until we know more, your best bet is, of course, to currently find a way to stop using all tobacco. And the FDA does not classify electronic cigarettes as an approved cessation device. So for those who are interested in quitting, your best bet does still remain with either prescription drugs like Chantix or the use of over-the-counter nicotine replacement therapies like the gum, the patch, or the lozenge. And for more information, you can contact the Nebraska Tobacco Quit line at 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Thank you very much. That is the end of Module 2.